Hello and welcome to another episode of Freshly Spoiled with Monique and Ryan.
Hi.
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 What did we just watch?
Conclave.
Conclave,
hmm
a drama about the Catholic Church
Yeah.
trying to pick out a new pope.
hmm
Hopefully you already know that. Hopefully you've already watched this movie,
Yep.
unless you wanted to know about this movie but wouldn't dare sit through it.
Well, this was a nice experience because we watched it at home.
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
was
we
more
can
casual.
kind of talk through it a little
Yeah.
bit.
I
like,
bit my
comment
tongue
on
a
it,
few times because I was like, all right, I want
and
to.
to save something for
Yeah.
the show.
But
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. Sometimes I did. I guess I didn't say everything I wanted to say, but it was fun. You know, it's a different experience. I like the movie theater experience. Has been nice. We've definitely gone to the movies more recently. But yeah, it's something nice about when you're home and you can kind of just in real time ask questions about. Do you know what's going on? Do you know
Yeah.
who it is?
I feel
Or
like
which
that's
one's which?
mostly what we were doing was like, what
Yeah.
just happened?
Yeah.
Firstly, I had to look up what Conclave was.
Mhm.
So it really is just what the movie was about, a Roman Catholic meeting
Mhm.
where the cardinals meet to pick a new pope.
Yeah. We've been through this. This has happened in our lifetimes a couple times where they've had to, and I became familiar with the process. But yeah, I never knew it was called the conclave. Um, but it was an interesting story. Um, I'm all my criticisms of this were not about the movie as I'm watching it. Like if things I'm thinking about criticizing. They were about the church. Like I'm not a religious person. I don't go. I'm not certainly not a Catholic. Um, and I think that prevented me from really being invested in the movie.
Oh, okay.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it. Like it was like almost like a fun watch to me. I was never at any point like, biting my fingers and being like, "What's going to happen?" Because to me, I didn't. There's good guys, they're bad guys, but to me, they're all bad guys.
Okay.
The whole Catholic Church is bad guys. So like you're rooting for one person over another person.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, you're all shitheads. Like the fact that you're even in this position, I have no sympathy for you. Like if there was that bomb, like blew up everybody, I'd be like, that was cool. I would be like,
That's a movie.
That's a movie. Yeah, and not that like I said, I did not enjoy it, but I definitely watched it more of like almost like like you watch a reality show. Like I don't really watch reality shows, but where you're just like, oh shit, like,
Yeah.
it wasn't. I don't think it was the drama that they were hoping for in the movie.
Oh.
I didn't get that.
I felt very like in suspense. I got into it.
Yeah,
like
in
because it was
suspense.
so like everything was so secretive and like they withheld like what was going on. Like, they made you wait and I was like, "Oh, what does that say? What are they doing?"
Yeah.
Like so I was I'm a sucker.
And it was not a confusing movie because they eventually got around to explaining things.
Oh, not with the names.
The names,
The
yeah,
names, I was
that's
like, who
yeah.
is
We
who?
talked about that. I'm my biggest downfall with these kind of movies is that
Yeah.
there's so many characters.
Yeah.
I'm bad in real life with names. People tell me their name. I'm like, you're gonna have to tell me that again. Probably. It's just like I'm my brain is not good at certain things, and remembering people's names is not one of those
At
things.
one point they did sit down and go singularly with what each character's name was.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah, after we had already talked about it
Yeah.
and tried,
And
like we
looked
looked
it
up the
up on-
IMDb
Yeah.
and we were like trying to like, okay, so that's definitely that guy. That's definitely that guy. And then they showed you when they pulled out the votes, they removed everybody else around them and just showed the one guy. And it's
They
like,
put
just
the
so you
name,
know,
and then this is that
this
guy.
is the guy that we're talking about. Just so there's nobody else in frame. There's no confusion here. Yeah, that was helpful, but yeah, it was suspenseful and but it was like to me playful suspension. It wasn't, and I loved the three major actors in this, and Isabella Rossellini didn't have as big a part as I was hoping that she
I
would
thought
have
she
had.
would have had a
I
bigger
mean, I guess we
role.
should have known it's a movie about cardinals picking a pope. But then you think, well, she's a nun
guess she
involved.
was
Like
pivotal,
we don't know
like
what the story is, so it could be the fact that the nun is how involved the nun actually is in the picking. So she could have been, but I wasn't blown away with anybody's performance. Like, just perfectly serviceable acting. Like, everybody's a good actor. It was fine. There was no moments where I was taken out of it by bad acting by any means, but there was nothing of meat there to like really anybody to sink their teeth in. Stanley Tucci kind of had like a grin with every line that he had. Like, almost like he was like kind of, he didn't have any bite to him, really. And it's a character choice, I guess. But John Lithgow didn't have as big a part as
same. I was like, okay.
It's just funny when you see the three of them. The opening scene, there's like the three of them around the Pope's dead body. And it's like, wow, that's a powerhouse of actors right there. But then throughout it, I never was like, I was like, oh, well, that was a scene. He's just good. It's good acting. Maybe I take it for granted that they're all good actors, and it's just like, yeah, that's just what they do. They're good at it.
Yeah.
But Ray Fiennes definitely has like an approach to acting.
I like him.
Yeah, I like him
just
too.
See his
but
face, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
no.
he was in the menu, right?
I say, yeah.
Yeah.
I say Ray Fiennes, even though it says Ralph, like that's how it's spelled, and you say Rafe.
Ray Fiennes. I only going by
Nobody can say his name, and he's been around forever.
The first part, if he really does pronounce it Rafe, that's his fault. Like that's not maybe not his fault, but you got to understand that's going to happen. You can't spell your name Ralph and expect people to call you something that doesn't look like that. The Fiennes thing is what are my other idiot podcasts?
Fiennes, I think.
Fiennes. I'm like, nobody but you two idiots have ever said Fiennes. So let's take that off the table right now. I'm only going by, I don't know the man, but when I listen to people talk about him, I've only ever heard Ray Fiennes, so that's what I'm going by. I'm no, pronunciation major. Is that a thing? What are you majoring in? Pronunciation. We're just gonna keep moving this thing back and forth. We're playing a little game of like tug of war behind the pillow right here that you can't see.
I enjoyed very much when Rafe's character
Lawrence,
thank you. He went to the dead Pope's room. They sealed it with like this cloth and sealed wax. And it was right after he said, no more drama, no more investigations. Let's just let God decide. Right? And then he goes to the room and he breaks the seal and he goes in and he starts like looking through everything and finds like the biggest discovery. He made like 100 copies of it, spread it out to all the cardinals, dropped the bomb on everybody.
There's like no more investigations. Okay. But he kept being fed things that he needed to investigate. Like he didn't want to do the investigation, but people kept coming up to him and was like, oh, like you need to know this. And he's like, oh, I guess I got to investigate this now. Like he was a man of honor. And I guess he did have questions he had doubt of his faith. And so that does make him to me more of a likable character. Like he was definitely the guy I was rooting for the most, not to be the Pope, but just to be happy or be vindicated.
Be okay.
Because I really, it's like, okay, maybe he knows that the Catholic Church isn't great and the faith isn't, like he had doubts. I'm not, they've done too many bad things for me to be wrapped up in a story about them picking the head bad guy.
Yeah, they definitely made it seem like there were like bad people who could lead the church, and there were kind of more open-minded people, and it was kind of divided into the two groups.
Yeah, it was really just...
And how it ended was with Benitez.
Yeah.
As the Pope, who was this new guy, and he did the speech that was like really empowering and beautiful and like, for everybody, just like as a whole, as a
Yeah.
community of people. So
Do you think
it
that
actually, like, I liked that it ended that way, like with that kind of message. But you know, I feel like then that, like, the church hasn't always done that, like
they
proven
haven't
itself
always
to
done
be
that. The
that
the
way.
the writings that they base their religion on don't support that. They're only changing their approach. To me, it's like, so you don't even have a backbone. You don't even stand on the principles that this whole religion is based on. So while it's good because less people are hated if people follow the Catholic Church, they bend these rules. These rules were supposed to be sent down from God. Like the stories from the Bible, the
Oh,
commandments are supposed to be sent down from God. Like if you're not sticking by those, but you'd be like, we're losing people. We need to open it up to gay people. It's like then you don't even stand by your own policies.
yeah. I wish I could remember the exact line, but he said something so wonderful, and I was like, okay, I could like get behind that with, like, it's like, oh, I don't remember, but like it wasn't even about the church. Like, it's not about the history. It's not about the past.
The
It's not
church is
about
the
the
church
church.
is
It's about
is
like
about
what could
what
be,
yeah,
and
what we
that's
do
such
next.
a
It's about
yeah,
what
what
we
we
do
do
next.
next,
Yeah.
and that's so beautiful. And you know what? If that is like where they want to take it, then fine. Like, you know,
Yeah, it's beneficial. I would
yeah,
never be like, oh, they shouldn't be progressive. To me, the most progressive you could do though is just shut down the whole church and be like, we were wrong about everything. Go out and live your life and be happy. It's like if you believe in God, great. God will be there to support you, whoever you are. All this is made up, and we've finally realized we don't need any of this stuff. All this is made up. We're hoarding money. Like we're gonna give our money to help people that actually need it. That's the progressive move that I want to see. And until that's the move, I don't give a fuck what you'd say. And what, oh, there's. It turns out that God actually just said, "Oh no, it's cool. Yeah, gay people can get married." It's like, yeah, we already know that. We don't need you to catch up to us. This the fuck up here. You know what I mean? We don't need you. It's like
yeah,
it's just you're getting in the way of people actually being progressive. You're holding people up. You're leading people that are have been indoctrinated into this lifestyle that they're afraid to break out of. Do an actual gesture of peace. What you're doing is is made. It's so you can get money. You're losing your audience. So you're reconfiguring your whole approach to life to get more people in, so that they give you money. That's not a Christian. That's not Catholic. That's not anything to look up to. You know what I mean? It's
well, I don't understand. Like, so they made this whole big thing about Benitez and like his story and like where he came from. And at the end, it was just that he was born with both male and female parts,
yeah.
which was so weird. I didn't see that coming. I thought, like, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
you said, maybe, oh, he's like, something's wrong. Like he's like,
Yeah.
he's gonna snap or something
Yeah.
like that. And I'm like, okay, so he was born like in their eyes, right? Like God created this man,
Mhm.
this person, this human who is man and woman. So what's the issue? That's the big thing.
Yeah, well,
the investigation.
like so much, like so many, like so many things in life.
Why is that an issue?
And there's a lot of symbolism in this movie too. But part of it to me was, I don't think that character Rafe, when he learned that, I don't think his problem was the fact that, oh no, you have female parts, we can't have you as the Pope.
Yeah.
It's what are people going to think? We're going to lose people. If people find this out, we're going to lose people in the Catholic Church, which is just the same as it's the same as like talked about this in the English teacher that we just watched, the mother of the gay son, and he said, are you embarrassed of your son, or are you embarrassed of yourself? Like, are you scared of people knowing how it makes you look? People that if they do something, if somebody in their if somebody in their family marries somebody of an opposite sex, and you think their community isn't going to be open to it, they don't care that they're their son or daughter married that person, they're like, oh, they're gonna talk about me. Like, did you see? It's all about how people are gonna perceive you.
I know, but I guess my confusion is that how they see it, God created this person. So shouldn't this person be accepted by the people of God? Because this Benitez, and he was even saying like he stepped down from something because he's a sinner. How is he a sinner?
Because he was brought up to believe that he was like, but just that it was ungodly, that it was, but I don't know, but
I don't know.
but so
I'm
much,
not,
but so
like,
much of that stuff is based
I'm
in.
not like religious, and I wasn't brought up with a full understanding of,
Mhm.
I guess, sin. But to me, it just seems like that it's just like being born with like an
You would
extra
think.
limb, a limb, an extra
Extra limb.
limb, an extra
I mean,
like
yeah, if that
appendage or
happened,
whatever.
yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
just doesn't make
like you were
sense
just
why
born that.
that's
You were literally,
an
out
issue.
of the mouth of Lady Gaga, you were just born that way.
Yeah.
um, it's not like it's not like they couldn't even go so far as to be like this person was born a woman but was transgender to him. Like
Right,
that
right.
was what where I was expecting it to go.
Right.
But they didn't even go that far. Like no, like because they didn't want to leave the wiggle room of the doubters to be like, you don't, if you're born that way, that's really who really you are, and it's it's a mental illness to feel like you're another gender. They don't want to leave it up to that criticism, so they want to be like, no, this person literally was born with both genders, and it's like, now you can't argue that, like that exists, and people they feel like a man, they've lived their life as a man, but they have female parts. So it's like, okay, so we're eliminating the conversation of is a transgender thing even real? Because that's not the conversation we're having.
No.
It's about how is it going to look, and then I think more about like they're going to find out that they had the procedure scheduled, that was what the procedure was. And how's it going to make the Catholic Church look?
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I don't know why, but I don't know why they have a problem with gay people. It's like they call that a sin, and I don't know. Like so you're all coming, but there's things in the Bible that can be misconstrued as like gay.
I feel
gay
like I would like
homosexuality.
to really sit down with somebody who knows the Bible and like
A
get those
theologian.
parts. Yeah, theologian. And like get those parts that say those things.
I just think they don't
or
like things that are weird.
what is written that's interpreted, that somebody could interpret it to mean that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something. It's like, do they cast away any weirdos, or like it's just unknown. It's unusual. So it's like we don't know how it got like that, but we don't want any part of it. It's like, this is a man, this is a woman. You procreate. That's it. We don't want to hear anything else. I don't know. But like I said, I don't know why they do a lot of stuff. Out of the whole pomp and circumstance stuff they do, it's like you're wasting your time. They're draping over his face, and then they put him away, and all like the clothes and this, and then they add some modern things. It's like they have. I would have loved a story about the introduction of the computers, like into the Catholic Church, because they weren't, there was resistance. They were probably late adapters to technology, because you have all these big buildings, these big beautiful buildings, this big stone, and now you have just like a computer table over here, and it's like, well, that doesn't fit. But they were like, oh, this will help us communicate with people. So I'm sure there was a talk, like some people didn't want to introduce technology. No, we do things this way. Everything is physical, and then there were people like, oh, it's that era's progression. It's like, we got to introduce technology.
Yeah.
Some of the spaces that they had was like, to me, not impressive. The hotel with all the marble. I was like, that's not nice. To a certain point, that was nice, and it's expensive because it's marble, but it's like, it doesn't look nice.
So cold, like physically, like cold.
It looks cold, yeah.
And it looks just like barren.
Yeah.
It was just like white and almost like a gray, like floor, walls. Very institutional.
You imagine sleeping, and you go to get out of bed, and you don't have socks on. You got to walk on marble to go to the Nobody wants it. And then yes, the lunch,
lunchroom.
the cafeteria where they ate. I'm like, this is the best they can do. I'm like, there's literally heating ducts around the back, around the whole bottom of it.
You're like, this is a basement. Like
In
it
the
looks
basement. It's like you just expect everything they do to just be like this grand room.
Yeah.
Like they don't have a room in the Vatican where they can host
yeah.
108
Yeah.
cardinals to eat. Like they didn't think that. Like you would be like, you think they would after the first conclave? They're like, we got to get a better dining area. Like if we're gonna be doing this for 5 days, we got to come up with a better place to eat.
The ring was interesting when when the Pope died, and that, like you were saying, the first order of business. It's they have to take the ring off of his dead finger.
Yeah.
And then chip off, I guess, the top of it,
Hmm.
and then put it away in like a little box.
Yeah. So do you think the ring itself goes to the next pope, but then the top of it
I
stays
think
with the last pope,
I think so. I don't
or
really
is it
know,
or is it the other way around?
I would think
Where they get a new ring, and then the top part.
Oh well, I mean, I guess
the
it has
top
to fit.
part.
Fit.
Or you
the
can
next
stretch.
person.
Yeah. I guess it would make more sense if that seal, because people are kissing the seal, so that seal is probably what stays from pope to pope.
We
Right?
should find that out.
Yeah, well, I won't.
I
Well, we
won't.
should, but I won't. Write in the comments. If you know, write in the comments. That's how you get people to interact. Write in the comments if you think I'm stupid. I thought the end was interesting because I was trying to think of why that last scene existed, why they showed him in the room and the women walking out laughing.
I thought I was like, I envisioned the three nuns like walking out and being like, "Oh my God, Benitez is so cute."
Maybe, yeah.
And they're like all like giddy walking around because he was young, like all the other.
But he wasn't as young. When I first saw him, I thought he was like super young, and then later on, I was like, oh, he's not.
Probably like
He's probably
late
one of the
40s,
He's probably
50.
one of the youngest people there. I think he's maybe older than that, but
I think compared to
compared
every
to
other
everyone else, he was
man
definitely
there,
young. But when
he
I
was-
first saw him, I thought he was like 30s, like early 30s.
Yeah, right.
And then you get closer, and you're like, oh no, he's a lot older than
Yeah,
you thought he was.
but he's all like sweet and like,
But I
good
thought
looking and.
the nuns giggling and showing, and then him watching them giggle because when he talked to him and he said, he talked a bit about inclusiveness of women. Well, the other guy did. Stanley Tucci's character talked about having women more involved and getting women more involved. But then when Benitez addressed everybody in the cafeteria, he thanked the nuns. He thanked the sisters for making the food.
That's right.
And they
right
cut
in the
to cut to Isabella Rossellini kind of smiling like, oh, I like that. Like you don't hear we don't get mentioned a lot. We don't get thanked a lot. They just so you sense that he was like, okay, I'm inclusive with women as well. They kind of set that to be like, oh, he's progressive, which I guess you knew just from his background, but. And then when he had the talk and he said, I think that my situation could be beneficial. I'll use it. And I don't know if meaning he'll get to the point where he actually discusses his condition and make it known. But he definitely is obviously more sensitive to women's situations because he can relate to that more. And even though he lived life as a man his whole life, but you get the feeling. So I think his goal now that he's Pope, his goal is he can include women, and maybe there's a woman cardinal at some point. And how do we get women more involved with the church and get out of the dark ages with that?
Oh, that's a really nice.
So
take on
when
that.
he looked out and he saw the women laughing, he kind of saw like,
The
oh
hope.
yeah, like it hasn't happened yet, but yeah, these women are so important to our church, and maybe it's like a good thing that now we have somebody that can truly maybe bridge that gap and erase the divide, So I thought that was maybe a little symbolism for that, yeah. But a lot of it was, I think, reflective of even just regular elections, presidential elections. That it's there's even though this is it's like America, we're all supposed to be America, we're all supposed to be united. And this is the Catholic Church. We're supposed to be united. They're supposed to have one vision. Like they're even like following the word of one God, and they've already decided, yes, this is why we're here. It's to follow the word of God. and
That was
they
so
can't
interesting
even.
because they said that in the beginning. Once again, can't remember the exact line, but it was like what happens here is between like what God is telling the Pope
Yeah,
and then what the Pope carries out. And that's it. Like
yeah,
that's the only thing that matters, which is wild.
yeah. And it's
Like,
supposed to be. That's. It's funny that you say that because the Pope is supposed to be just the word of God. The
mhm,
Pope is the idea is that once this miracle happens that they pick a pope,
mhm,
somehow the pope has an open communication with God.
mhm,
That's how it's presented. It's like, okay, now he's been blessed with communication with God. And everything that he does, and that's why they get away with being like, oh no, God said now it's okay
mhm.
for gay people to get married. Okay, atheists can go to heaven too. Like was like a recent thing that they said, and it's like, okay, but I don't like that's great, and maybe that's how they get away with being like, oh no, we kind of update because the word of God is adjusting with time because we have communication with God, and I'm like, well, I live in the real world, and no, you don't. First of all, there's no God. If there was, just because 70 something people said that you're the Pope doesn't now give you some magical power that you can talk to God. It
Right.
could be
You were
just it
still
could just be like,
chosen
well, then
from
my
a group
opinion,
of men.
right? It's like, but so they're already talking about, they're already laying out platforms for if they're Pope, this is what I'm going to think.
Mm.
So it's like, so now you're bypassing what a God,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not even, this is what I think we should do. No, you should be like, I don't know what we should do. I have to wait till I'm the Pope and I have communication with God, and that's what I'll do. I'll do what God tells me to do.
Right. Yeah.
They're already coming in with preconceived ideas of what
Right.
they
Of
want
how they're
to,
gonna
how they
run.
want to run the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to do that.
So,
You're supposed to come
so
in
the
with
movie did a
a
good
blank
job
slate.
of really showing the political nature
Mm-hmm.
of the
Yeah,
Catholic
right.
Church. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the same thing, like I said, with the presidential election. Like we're even more divided. We even say like we're supposed to be we're the United States of America. We're supposed to be. It's in the name. We're supposed to be united, and then within that United States, where it's supposed to be everything's based in freedom, we can't agree on shit. We got two different parties. We got the progressives and we got the conservatives, and we can't agree on anything. So it's like, and then it's the backstabbing. It's the doing this is to get your side. We can't have this person anything but this person, and it's the same thing. And it's not interesting to see that that's same thing happens in politics. What's interesting to see is like, the same thing that we do in politics that we already all know happens. It's the same things happen in the Catholic Church. They're not, you know, any better than us. It's the same stuff. It's all comes
Just
down to man. Once
people,
you get man
humans getting
involved,
together.
it's
Yeah.
it's all the whole thing's screwed up.
Yeah.
So
It was. This is random, but have you seen House on Haunted Hill?
no.
It kind of reminded me, like at the end, like I guess in the beginning when they were having the meeting, they shut down the entire church. They boarded up the windows. They like closed electronically. They closed they
Yeah.
boarded them in. But then at the end, when everything was over, the new pope is elected. All the windows came up, and he's in the room, and the things come up, and he looks out the window, and everything's okay. Like I don't know, it was a funny correlation because that's how that movie was.
It'd be funny if the Pope had like a sense of humor, like the curtain comes up and he's laying, he just makes a funny face. Like the curtain comes up, he's like, I'm just kidding you. We're gonna have a great time, guys. It's gonna be great. And the best Pope. Gonna be the best Pope you ever saw. I did like the one line where he said, "Certainty is the enemy of unity, and certainty is the deadly enemy of tolerance." And then if there was no doubt, like he was trying to, like he was kind of admitting that he had doubt, but he was like, if there was no such thing as doubt, there would be no use for faith. Like the whole
Right.
reason that faith exists is because there is doubt, and you just have to ignore the doubt and just have faith. But you have to acknowledge that doubt exists, and then have faith to it. But yeah, that whole thing of like certainty. I mean, that's one of my biggest pet peeves with people is certainty. Like I absolutely despise people who go through life thinking anything's certain. Like unless you're there to see beginning to end, and that's the amount of whatever it is, you can be certain about that. If you witnessed the whole story beginning to end, be certain about that. Anything outside of that, you don't know for certain what happened. You don't know there's a backstory to anything. You don't know things that you weren't there to witness, and certainly faith, and religion leaves a lot of holes where people nobody knows beginning and end certainty. It's business. When people talk about minimum wage and they talk about corporate corporates corporations doing certain things that they deserve that, they worked hard at that, and that's a side that you take. It's like, I'm certain this is how things should be. If you work hard, you should be able to make as much money as you want. It's like anything that anybody's certain about. It's like you're not considering another person. Like you're not considering that people don't have the same personality as you. You're not considering that people aren't as fortunate as you. Like everything is steeped in subtlety and So I love that because that's something I've always hated. People who just go through life being so certain. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful, like people having different beliefs and opinions with their faith and religion or not, not having that.
That it is beautiful. It's go ahead, continue.
Yeah, no, I mean that's really, I was just like, I think it's just, like, I don't know, like if that's it, if you're not willing to hear another person, like it's almost like, how can you be so like, like black and white about it?
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
When there's so many different
I don't know.
people and like you're saying, different experiences.
Because it benefits them to do so. Because if they think about the fact that other people might feel differently, or if they think about the fact that what they were doing is wrong, if they have to face that, then they have to deal with the fact that
I guess
they were bad. They were a bad person. They got something in a way that was wrong. If they just blindly,
all people who are like religious or who have faith or who are certain of things are bad people. But it's still interesting to be like, I think it's more like they just don't want to have any self-reflection. It's like fear-based, because then they have
absolutely.
to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if the whole foundation of your life and your beliefs are based on this one thing, then what do you do? What do you do with that? Like, I was lucky enough at an early enough age. I was raised very religious, but at an early enough age, I was like, I don't really believe any of that anymore. Like, I think I never did, and then I just kind of accepted it early.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't. But if I went 45 years thinking that, and I got to the point where I'm like, I don't think I believe that. Like, that's a long time to live a life and be like, I think I might have wasted a lot of my life believing something that doesn't exist, or believing it going in a direction that now I'm gonna have to turn and go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, it's easier going that way. Like if I came across some real hard evidence that I'm wrong and that there is an afterlife and there's a God, it'd be probably harder to be like, oh wow, I gotta make an about face and I gotta start living life a little more, with more faith and more, I mean, what I'm
yeah, but I mean, but even like to say that, that's just, it just doesn't even make any sense, because it's like, what is that even about? So to be a good person, you need to like worship and devote your life to this one thing. How about just being a good person and doing like right?
Yeah, I've always said my mother's very, very religious, and she will have conversations, and I tell her, I said, I'm a good person. I base everything I do in what's morally right. I don't think, am I doing it for God? I do it because it's the right thing to do. I see people that go to church and they worship. I see them being terrible people. So what would you rather? Would you rather be a good person and not believe, or go to church and act like, say, yes, I believe, and then I'm a bad person? And then if I get to those pearly gates, if they exist, and they say, yeah, you were a great person, you did everything right, you thought about others before yourself, and but you didn't do it for God. And I'm sorry, that's really our thing here. You kind of got to do it for God.
Yeah.
And then I get sent to hell, and it's like, well, I wouldn't have gone back and done anything any different, because to me, if there's a God and he's so self-absorbed and he needs people to do things for him, he should be like, oh, I made a good one here. Like, he's one of my children, and I made him that he didn't even consider me, and he still did he still did things right. Like he should be happy that he created somebody that did things because it was the right thing to do, and not because, like, to me, I should be like, yeah, absolutely, you're in. Like you did it all, not all right. Like
whole weird concept of
yeah.
just
I've told my mom, like, if that's the way heaven is, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be with people who
yeah.
I think you say that and you go to hell and it's like as bad as they think it is, and it's like, ooh, like like they really are poking you.
Like I just think of Little Nicky, the version.
Yeah, you would. We will never discuss Little Nicky on this show.
Well, I'm bringing it up.
Yeah. Oh, crazy.
Crazy eyes.
I think of your pretty little face is going to hell.
What?
It was a show on Adult Swim.
Oh.
Your pretty little face is going to hell.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when I picture hell. That's literally what I pictured. Now, since that's been out, like I picture that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it because this is one of my favorite conversations we've had post movie so far, because it's already a topic that I'm interested in. I like to have those conversations about religion as it is. So I'm trying to turn on my computer with my foot. I guess I need bare feet.
Yeah.
But that being said, I didn't love the movie. Like I enjoyed my time watching it.
Yeah.
But when I think about great films, great movies, like this is something that was like very much, what are those movies that like, what was that one movie that was, it was an author who wrote a couple books and they became movies, and Tom Hanks was in one of them.
Oh,
It was,
yeah.
Angels and Demons, and then there was another one that like I wrote.
I can't think of it,
Anyway,
but it's like, yeah, he's
Anybody
like on a
listening
search for.
knows what those movies are. This to me was just like another one of those. Like this whole, I mean, those I think were a little more adventurous than this is, but
Yeah, that was like an action. type
yeah,
movie.
right. But this is that same type of like, it's a fun story, but this is not a great movie in my mind. You?
Yeah, I enjoyed watching it. It was, I honestly, I just thought the end kind of deflated the whole movie for me. I really enjoyed the movie, and then the end, I was like, and that's what this is all about. That's the big secret. That's
Yeah, I thought the same thing, and I thought it's such the well, not that specifically is not the hot button issue right now, but it's in that direction, in that family, the whole transgender thing, and it's
like if you want to talk about that, talk about that. Make a movie about it.
yeah,
Like say it, say what you want to say about it. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, it just didn't make any sense in the context of the movie. Yeah.
yeah. It just seemed to me like they slapped it on the end, like it could.
Yes, that's exactly how it was.
It's like,
I
oh,
was
how can we make this more
oh.
relevant? How can we make this movie a little more
Yeah.
relevant? It's like, oh, what if we have like a questionable
Yeah.
sexuality thing
Yeah.
in it? It's like if that just would have been like the new guy that I was expecting the reveal to be. It was a fake paperwork that he gave, and he wasn't actually a cardinal. To me, that would have been
Yeah, that would have been more like
maybe more predictable, because I did predict it, and wrongly predict it, but maybe wouldn't have been as like as it was like thrown back. But not just because you're surprised doesn't mean it was a good twist.
yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I mean, I don't regret watching it, but yeah. It's not getting my vote for anything. I think a big criticism about it I've heard is that they didn't approach the sex offender thing, and I mean, yeah, but at the same time, would they? Like in the church, they probably don't talk about it a lot. Like, it's probably realistic that they mentioned it quickly, like, oh, he's going to set us back, and with the, we already are looked at so poorly because of the
The
sex
other
stuff.
sex scandals.
Yeah, the sex scandals, which is probably about how much they would talk about it. I don't think they go around talking about it. It was interesting to see sometimes how casual they were with each other, and they were just people. They did a good job representing that. A couple times it seemed like mostly
Just a bunch of men, like,
mostly when
living
Stanley
together,
Tucci was around,
and-
he seemed like he was kind of just like a knock around guy. He was,
Yeah.
all right. That was a discussion about Conclave.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching all this. If you still are, I would just like give like deep dark secrets at this point in the podcast, like as a little nugget for people to make it this far. I killed a guy. I didn't know. If YouTube's listening, that was just a joke.
Just kidding.
That was not. That was just to get people to watch. All right. Bye.
Bye.